Greetings, this is Amy Wentley with Chai Knuckles Knitting, and this is episode 2019-7, Dropping and Rebuilding Cables. I'm currently teaching a class at the Hillsborough Yarn Shop on the Geiger cardigan, which is a highly cabled cardigan. The design is by Nora Gahn and it's distributed by Brooklyn Tweed. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to fix mistakes in cables. And in this case, what we'll be doing is dropping down some stitches and then rebuilding those cables up again in just a little portion of the work. So what you need to have if you're going to do this is you need to have your work and your needles. In this case, I've got these two double pointed needles that I use, but you would have your regular work on your circulars. And you also need to have a cable needle if you're using a cable needle to make your cables. And you also might want to invest in some of these little clips that are very helpful in a situation like this, and I will show you how. So let's imagine that you've got this piece of knitting, and in this case, this is 22 stitches. And I've got some seed stitch on the edges here. There's a reverse stockinette next to a cable. Okay, this is what the chart looks like for this project. So you'll see here that on this chart I have 9 rows. I'm about to start row 9 here, going across here. 22 stitches. And then these symbols are for purl stitches. These symbols are for knit stitches. And then this is our cable symbol. And this is the translation of the cable symbol. So let's say I go to start row 9 and I look at my work and I realize as I'm starting row 9 that my cable is crossing the wrong way. This cable here is made up of 6 stitches, and the cable instructions and the cable symbols show us that this is a 3x3 right cross. It's crossing over to the right. It was made by 3 stitches going to the cable needle and holding in the back, and then 3 knit stitches from the left needle, knit from the left needle, and then knitting 3 stitches from the cable needle. However, what I have showing in my work here is actually a left cross. It's going over towards the left. So what I want to do is I want to redo this cable, and I don't want to have to rip out all my work completely and redo everything again, because there's no reason for me to be redoing any of these reverse stockinette stitches or the seed stitch on the sides. So I am now on row 9 here, as you can see. So I'm going to start my row, and I am going to work up to these 6 stitches that are affected by this cable here. So here we go. I'm going to start with my seed stitch, and I knit continental. You can very easily do this in English also. So my seed stitch is a purl, a knit, a purl, a knit, a purl. Okay, that's the seed stitch portion. And if I look at my chart, the next 3 stitches will be purl stitches, so I will do those. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I am now at these 6 stitches. Now the important thing to bear in mind is I am on row 9 here. I have not knit these stitches yet. So I shouldn't be looking at these stitches at all at this point because I have not gotten there. So what I am going to do is I'm going to take the next 6 stitches and I'm going to drop them off my left needle. But then I want to make sure, these are the 6 stitches right here. See them? Okay. And I want to make sure that these stitches on my left needle are really nice and stable and okay, and that they are not going to slip off. So I'm going to pull those back and I'm going to push these back on my right needle. Okay. Now what I want to do is keep track of how many rows I'm going to be dropping down. So as I said, I haven't done these stitches yet. So I am going to have to drop down 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, and actually a 4th row in order to be able to recross these stitches again. So carefully, I am going to go between these stitches, these 6 stitches, and I am going to pick out the first row of knitting. This is my first, I'm going to call this a ladder. This is my first ladder. So that's row 1. I'm going to pick it out of all 6 of these stitches. Okay, so that's this row right here. Because I haven't worked this row yet, it's this row right here that I just picked out, and it's this ladder here. So now I'm going to pick out the next row, which is going to be this one that I worked. So this is going to be a plain one too. Watch. So I pulled out row 2. Okay. I'm going to pick out one more row, and that's this row here that I worked. So I'm just going to pick out one place and pull it out of these 6 stitches. Now, that was actually that's the third row here, the one right above the one that crossed. Now I'm going to pull out the row that crossed the stitches. So I'm just going to pick between 2 of these stitches here, pick it out, and I'm going to pick out the yarn here out of all 6 stitches, and there I'm going to uncross them. Okay, so now I have my 6 stitches that are uncrossed. I have this ladder, the first ladder, we're going to call this, and it's going to be the one that's going to use to recross those stitches. And then I have 3 other ladders that I am going to use to build up these 3 subsequent rows after the cross. So I know that I was supposed to have slipped 3 stitches to the cable needle and holding back. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put 3 stitches on the cable needle here. I'm going to mount them correctly with the right leg in front. I'm going to put them on the cable needle, and I'm going to hold them in back of all this business. Let's just hold it in back of this. Put all the business back here, hold this in back of the 3 stitches here, okay? I am then going to need to get another cable needle. If you just hold on 1 second. Actually, I'm going to have to hunt down a cable needle, so I'm going to pause this for 1 minute, and then I'll be right back. Hello, I'm back. Thank you for your patience. Another thing that you're going to need in order to do this is you're going to need a couple of double pointed needles the same size as your project, because you're actually going to be knitting off re-knitting these stitches, and it will be very difficult to use the needles that you're using for your work. It's a lot easier to keep a set of double pointed needles on the side. So, okay, we were at the point where I had slipped these 3 stitches to the cable needle and held them in the back. And then I need to put these other 3 stitches on a needle. So I'm going to put them on one of my DPNs. So here you go, I did that. Okay. So we've got the 3 stitches on the cable needle and holding them in the back, and the 3 stitches on the left-hand needle. So the next instruction says knit 3 stitches from the left needle. Well, what I'm going to do is, you will notice back here that I have 4 ladders. And I explained before how 3 of those are the plain rows, and this last one was the one that was used to twist the stitches. So I want to take these top 3 ladders and just put a clip on them and hold them away, out of the way right now. And I'm going to use the closest ladder to all this work to recross these stitches. So I've got it on the cable needle I'm holding in the back, and I'm supposed to work 3 stitches off of this left-hand needle. So I'm going to take my ladder, and this is my this is now my working yarn. Okay, and I'm going to take this ladder and I am going to knit with it. So I'm going to stick my needle through the front as if to knit, and I am going to use this, Sorry, this stitch was actually mounted incorrectly on the needle, making it a lot harder to get in. Okay, so I'm going to knit and I'm going to wrap this ladder around my needle and pull it through, and that's one stitch knit. I'm going to tug it a little bit because I'm going to eventually start to run out of yarn on this ladder. But so that's one stitch knit off the needle. This is 2 stitches knit off the needle, 3 stitches knit off the needle. Okay, so that's off the 3 stitches from the left needle. Now I have to knit the 3 stitches off of the cable needle. So I am going to, I have to get my ladder in the back here. See how I'm doing that? I'm getting my ladder behind all these stitches on my cable needle. Try not to twist your cable needle, just get it in the back there, okay? And got the 3 stitches on my cable needle. Thank you, everyone. And now that's in the back. Now I'm going to knit these 3 stitches off of my cable needle. So I still have my ladder back here, and it's a little shorter than it was before, but I am now going to knit the 3 stitches off of the cable needle. So this is 1, 2, and 3 off the cable needle. There's a very little tiny part of the ladder back there, but you can get it through, okay? So now I have recrossed my stitches, and they are now crossed the correct way to the right. You'll see that, okay? So now what to do about building up all the rest. Now the rest of these are all just knit rows, okay? So I am going to unhook my clip back here, and I am going to find the ladder that's the closest one to my stitches now. That's this one. I'm going to put the clip on the other 2 just to get them out of the way. And then I am going to go ahead and knit these 6 stitches off my needle, off my double pointed needle that I have there now, holding all the stitches. Okay, there you go. So I've got those 6 reknit. So now I'm going to go to my ladders again. I'm going to locate the one that's closest to those 6 stitches. There it is. And I'm going to go ahead and keep that other one in the back. I'll go ahead and do this one English knitting with the right hand this time so you can see what that's like. So I put the needle in as if to knit, and I wrap using my ladder with my right hand. I really do find it's easier with your left hand. So even if you're an English knitter, if you want to try to use your left hand as a continental knitter to do this, it is a little bit easier, but you see you can still do it with your right hand here. And the yarn's getting real short. So as I get to the end, what I'm going to do is I'll just tuck this under, pull it through. There you go. So there are my other 6 stitches, and I've got 1 ladder left. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to just go ahead and knit this last row of the 6 stitches. And this ends up taking me up to row 8. Now, you know, you realize that normally when you read this chart, you're reading from the right to the left and then the left to the right. And when you're reading from the left to the right, you're actually, the knit stitches, you're actually purling them when you're on the back. You don't have to do this because you're doing everything from the front. So everything is knit in this case. And pull it through. Okay. Gets a little tricky sometimes. Now, so you have now rebuilt all your stitches and they're on your left needle. And what you can do is go ahead and finish this row. So these are all knit stitches right here on row 9. Knit stitches. So that's 1, 2. I switched to English again, you'll see. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And then I come up to my reverse stockinette. So that's going to be 6 pearls. So I'm going to wrap the first backwards because that's how we tighten up that stitch. You've seen that on a previous video. And we're going to purl 2 correctly and purl 3. And then I'm going to do the seed stitch, which is purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1 to the end. Now, the one thing that you're going to see is that the your stitches in the cable now are a little bit funky looking because you have really manipulated things. You've pulled down, you've rebuilt again. What you can do is you can go with a needle and you can kind of even these out. So see, this first stitch is very loose. What I can do is I can pull on the second stitch here to make that first stitch tighter. And of course that makes the second stitch looser. But then I can come to the next stitch and pull that a little tighter. And I can work my way across and kind of redistribute the kind of the tension of the stitches to get them to be prettier again. So that's one of the things that you can do. And then this one goes, you just follow kind of the course of the yarn, which are the ones that pull the yarn for the stitch next to it, and just kind of redistribute those. And the ones on the end here get kind of loose, so let's pull a little bit more that way. And see, it's already starting to look a whole lot better. And then once you block, it's even going to improve it more. So you're back to looking pretty good, and you've got your cross correct now. One other thing to know too is that you can do this over a wide number of stitches. In the Geiger cardigan, a lot of the cables are over actually 12 stitches, and there are 4 different bands of 3 stitches that are crossing all over each other. You can pull down 12 stitches at once and rebuild 12 stitches. And even there are places, and unfortunately I had to do this once, there are places where the cables travel and you've actually got some decreases and things going on. You can actually pull down as many as like 18, 21 stitches to pull a whole section down and rebuild it up again. It can be done, and that still will save you time over pulling out, say, 10 rows of 120 stitches and having to do it all over again. So I recommend you try this. It's a nice way to save yourself time. And I think I will pretty much guarantee you that at some point in this project, you are going to make a mistake with crossing cables. And it is a whole lot easier to fix things this way. So thank you very much for watching the video, and look for future ones. I just finished blocking both sleeves and the back of the sweater. So I will have a blog post in a while about blocking. And you can look forward to also a lot of future videos on finishing the seaming and those sorts of things for the sweater. So thank you very much for joining me, and look for more videos. Bye-bye.